Hey guys, Stealth here. Doing another subscriber replay, and this one is by Butler. He wrote in his description that the SAS in this game had a significant impact upon the game. They're harassing the enemy, they're pushing up on the artillery, and trying to down enemy aircraft in the process. Now, as you can see by the timer, it is pretty long of a game, so every now and then I'm going to push up some stuff, try to make it a little faster, because I try to keep these videos to about 45 minutes. So I won't show you this whole thing at one-time speed. Let's see about the start setup. He has some Stollies with AA, ASLAF PC with infantry, Saxons and the SAS in their helicopters. He's using a general Commonwealth deck, as he mentioned in the description. And by the looks of it, he's coordinating with Shenla Joke, Mike, and himself is going this way into Foxtrot. Let's see, the allies are using, this is probably a French deck, and these guys might also be using a French deck. So immediately an engagement here with another group of helicopters, which are taking fire from the infantry that just came out of here, the RBS 70s. Hopefully, well actually it's not the SAS, it's paratroopers. They did manage to make it out, but hopefully they can get into cover quickly enough. Missile launchers, the RBS 70s take down a helicopter, or at least they try to, but not before those guys drop off their own Gorna Strelkies. Those should not be a really big of a worry for the paratroopers though, but they are taking a lot of fire from these helicopters. And as he mentioned in the description, he messed up his initial push a little bit. I don't think so, not from what I'm seeing here. He's not doing that bad. There's not a lot you can do against a push this disorganized. A couple of these Mi-24s are going to really wreck your day. I suppose that what he could have done is try to bring in a Harrier to either bomb this area or try to find some of those helicopters with the AIM-9s that are mounted on the Harriers. But otherwise, it's not easy to get in before the Mi-24As do, because those things just travel faster than most of the helicopters, and especially most of the ground transports. And although he lost a few units, he's doing a bit more damage to the enemy than he's taking, it seems, based on the score. So all seems to be going okay here. Although pushing up with this infantry now is going to be a problem. I hope he's going to relocate those Milans. He's got some other units coming up. Lynx AH-7 20 mils, interesting choice. Those are very good at suppressing infantry and taking down helicopters at closer range, but not if there's AA infantry in here. He also has some units over here. This might be the SAS with their own recon team, but for now he's just parked them there, because he's too busy operating in this area and trying to clear out this region. So the diggers are trying to dig their way in, but it's not easy with those Gorna Strelkies who are already solidly mounted in those buildings. And I hope that he can get close enough to stay outside of range of that second building. No, I don't see these guys surviving. Especially not with Mi-8 TVs coming in, MTVs, with their rocket pods. They just wipe out some more Stolly over here. Now the helicopters are moving. And the RBS are trying to take down a helicopter. They managed to take one Mi-8. And now they're out of missiles. That's bad news. There you go. Some more paratroopers are being offloaded here. But he should get these guys the hell into the forest and get the helicopters away from here. Because this Mi-8 is taking no prisoners. But if they can get the helicopter over the paratroopers, and the paratroopers in range of that thing, they have a reasonable chance of surviving. So the helicopters with the SAS and the recon have pushed up a little further, but he is still working on saving his forces here. Red 4 has made 500 or 400 more points in kills than Blue 4. But Blue 4 has a little bit more control of the map. They've captured Bravo, they've captured Alpha, they've captured Delta and Foxtrot, so they're pretty even. But if you see how much area Blue Force is taking up, I'd say that they got more of the map under their control. Helicopters are pushing up again, even further. And hopefully they can get there without being shot down by something. Green Jackets are doing a good job at spotting whatever happens to drive by here. Over here they got some AMX Huit Noir, or the AA guns, which are having a bit of trouble engaging these MTLBVs. Should be able to kill those with their main guns. But they're out of fuel. Both of them. That's trouble. It's going to start raining now. A large column of units is being brought in. VTTs, more VTTs, VABs, more VTT. Geez, that's a lot of transports. Over here, a Harrier GR7. This is the one with the precision bombs of going after the helicopters. It cannot engage the helicopters with the precision bomb, but it can use the M9L, and it does score one hit on the helicopter. Helicopter tries to shoot back at him, didn't hit him. But he really has to start turning around now. And he dropped off his infantry in this position. Now this is very, very sneaky. This position is one where helicopters can land. They cannot land on these surfaces of the mountain, but they can land onto this more or less horizontal piece. And that is where he decided to offload his SAS and recce. But for now he has to get a handle on this area because he has no AA. He has some ATGMs, but he cannot really engage anything heavier than, say, some medium tanks. And his AA, as I mentioned, is non-existent. That's trouble, because without AA, if they do another push with those helicopters, the only thing he has to bear, or he can bring to bear on them, is the Harrier, and maybe some other fighters by now. MiG-25 is doing a run over here, just an air patrol. And so long as the SAS don't fire, they're not giving their position away. So let's hope he's going to hold their fire. Because a MiG-25, which is only a 90-point plane, is not really worth it if you can get that close to their command zone. And meanwhile, they're pushing up with an OSA, which is being spotted by the Green Jackets. And his allies over here. This is Shanley Joke, is pushing up very, very far into this forest. But now it gets difficult, because now you have to try and jump across to the other forest and this town, and that's usually very heavily entrenched by infantry. Also, he has a ton of chasseurs in here, but not a lot of other stuff. So if something like a couple of BMPTs or napalm tanks decide to spray this area, or just a large amount of napalm planes come in that bomb this area, he's going to lose everything. So Chandler Joke, if you're watching this, you should try to get some more AA in here, because the AA is not going to be too impressed with having one, or the airplanes are not going to be too impressed with just one AA gun in there. And this is pretty much exactly what I was afraid of. A couple of BMP-1s are pushing their way through this forest, eradicating whatever's in their way. Starting with this chasseurs, and I don't think he's paying a lot of attention because he's just letting them get wiped out one by one. One BMP gets killed. This T-64B is probably going to capture that cargo. And we can see another Mi-24D coming up. Now these are transports. So if you see an Mi-24A or a D, you have to be sure that there's no longer infantry in there. And if there is infantry in there, you can kill it and probably kill the infantry with it. If there's not, then you need to start wondering, okay, where did the infantry go? Over here, he's pushing in with the SAS very, very deep into Echo. But he managed, or they managed somehow to kill his recce. So the SAS only have to rely on their own reconnaissance, which is medium optics. And I hope that they are not going to capture these supply trucks, or they're just going to give away their position. Over here he's reinforcing his line. He has a Centurion marksman in here. Centurion Marksman is a good AA platform, but I would not push it through a forest, because they're too easy to sneak up upon. I would park it somewhere over there, where it has a good field of fire, and I would put AA infantry in here to make sure that we don't get flanked by a push from helicopters that side. Over here on the right, Mike is also working his way through Alpha. And with that, he is doing a reasonable job, but he's facing quite a bit of resistance from motor Strelkers and T-72Bs. Okay, this is trouble. They captured a fob. That means that the enemy now knows that they have enemies in their own zone. So I wonder how long it's going to take them before they get the detection of the SAS and get those SAS killed. They kill one vehicle. That was a recon. Kill 2 more vehicles. Napalm tank. Run! Run! He's running towards the napalm tank, taking it out, but losing 9, 8, 10. There we go. He lost 10 guys in the process. Seems to be scrambling back to his helicopter. That was one SAS group that got wiped out. The lone survivor over there. Meanwhile, the score is 2000 versus 2500, and it seems to be total destruction. So they can just keep this up for hours until they finally manage to get the enemy team down. There might have been a 90-minute timer on this one, but I didn't check that. Now I'm skipping up ahead just to see what Butler is going to be doing. I'm not that interested in what Chandler Joke is doing over here. He's pushing up a Leopard 2 C2 Maxis. And this is pre-DLC 3, and in DLC 3 the Maxis does receive quite some buffs. Especially the gun, I think, gets some advantages. So keep in mind that these things might not be as good in this video as they are now, if you're watching this somewhere later than January 2015. Now his AA over here is still pretty weak. I would put a marksman over there. With the Centurion marksman over there, he could have killed both of those helicopters. He did kill another one over there, but these corner Strelkies could provide a lot of trouble for the Maxis. And next, the Centurion marksman. So try to get these guys into safety a bit quicker. And here he's pushing out with diggers. Judging by the bomb craters here, something has been bombed. But I'm not sure if that was recent. And I would try to go in under the cover of smoke here, or using artillery to just pound these guys first. He is using an AVRE, but it's out of position slightly because it cannot fire through these buildings at the corner Strelkies. And we got a Maxis here taking fire from HGMs mounted on recon. PT-90 gets taken down. Actually, these are not recon, these are the standard PT-90. They score a hit on the Maxis, but the Maxis is not very impressed. Returns fire, takes out the PT-90. Well done. Now still, the only AA that he has in here is the Centurion Marksman, and that means that if the enemy was to return fire with, say, a wing of 5 or 6 helicopters, that would be over pretty quick, and they would have taken a lot of damage. So this is a pretty risky operation, and here you go, that's the first Mi-24P coming in. Nothing you can do against that really until that Centurion Marksman gets in range. Probably not before that thing does quite a bit of damage. And if he had mortars nearby, they would have also been capable of engaging these Nonas before they get unspotted again. There you go. Interesting, by the way, that there was no attack marker going up there. I would have immediately put down an attack marker, one there and one there, to note that there is artillery there. And see, these Nonas haven't even moved. So really, this highlights the importance of artillery and mortar fire, especially the mortars. Centurion Marksman managed to take down a helicopter, but I'm not sure if the infantry survived. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Someone else engaged these Nonas. Might have been the AS-90. But I'm not sure they killed any of them. And now he has a lot out of here in the open. Now I know that he has one recon unit and quite a bit of ATGM fire, or ATGMs. But if those things aren't spotted, then those ATGMs are no good. So this tractor Pier and the Centurion Marksman are trying to get into cover. Almost out of fuel. Seems to be a common problem with the British vehicles. But having some infantry AA would have been ideal. And Mike remembers him to deploy his rover inside the area. That neutralizes their income from Foxtrot, so Red Force income. 2 mortars get taken down by the Milans. Beautiful shots there. AS-90 got destroyed by counter battery fire. This highlights the importance of firing and then relocating, because this could have been prevented. And there's a really easy way to do that. Just fire at the enemy, hold shift, tell them to move either over there or over there, just away from your last known firing position, and then re-engage the enemy. A Centurion Marksman got destroyed, and that was the one that was operating in this area. That was a bad news, because the FSA is not that good at taking down helicopters, only a 2100 meter range. And seeing how helicopters are his main problem right now, I think that this is going to get him into trouble. Well, the solution to this is pretty easy, really. If you can deploy either your diggers or your Milans here and get some javelin infantry in there, you can have a pretty solid AA setup. SAS did a raid here, took out 45 points of units there. And he does need to get some more SAS in there if they're going to have a significant impact on the battle. Means for now they're just harassing the enemy, and that's what they do well. But what you really want them to do is either start taking down helicopters and planes, and they have not fired any of their stingers so far, or to try and get the command vehicle in Echo. Now they've fired once, twice, 3 times already at the MiG, but the MiG is having none of that. And it's just not taking any fire. Hasn't taken any hit from this SAS. But the SAS did get spotted. And I don't think that he noticed that. This could be trouble. Can't blame him really, because he's too busy keeping these guys occupied and killing the enemy. He's doing a good job at it too, because he's slowly but steadily claiming this area. And unfortunately this rover's taking a bit of fire. And he's evacing that. Yeah, Mike, he's taking fire. I cannot blame him for moving his rover out. Neutralized it again. And by now NATO has taken the lead by 400 points. So they are doing a good job. And this is due to Butler pushing up here. Unfortunately, as I had predicted, Chandler Joke lost all of the infantry in there. And that cost them quite a lot of points, especially since all of those transports were in there too. See, you can do a push like this with chasseurs, but make sure you also bring some Rimas to make sure that you have a lot of anti-tank capability. I know that chasseurs have some anti-tank weapon, but it's not that great. Rimas have better anti-tank weapons, and if you would mix Rimas with legions, chasseurs and some Mistrals, you have a very, very dangerous setup here. And I don't think that Red 4 would really eagerly want to get into that forest again. For now, Butler is just reinforcing everything he has here. He has taken quite a bit of damage on pretty much all of the units which were involved in the fighting here. And he is shipping back and forth supplies. I'm not entirely sure why he's bringing the supplies from the FOB, if he could have taken them from the chopper. If you don't know this, you can take supplies from a chopper with a truck, but not the other way around. The chopper cannot take them from the truck. So what you could do is have the CH-47 go back and forth to the FOB, and then the trucks go back and forth to the cargo. Lot of artillery fire. And I think that this is where the SAS is going to shine. That is, if they had any AT weaponry left. But they can spot them. They spot a couple of Nonas. And they are out of their AT-4s and their Stingers. But hopefully they can provide some... Oh shit, that wasn't good. Well, actually it wasn't that bad. Because this cargo that managed to get captured resupplied these guys with 4 AT-4s. If you can capture the other one as well, you might be able to get some Stingers and shoot down these helicopters. The enemy recaptured that supply truck over there, but that's no problem. Maybe the enemy didn't realize yet that the SAS were still here, and that a supply truck got captured. Helicopters being mortared and artied, taking some damage, but not that much. And I hope that the FSA is in range. Missed one. Missed second. Hit third. Hit fourth, killed one. And I don't think that they are in range anymore, or he can't see them. But now NATO is pushing up their point difference. They are leading by 1100 by now. And again, having some javelin infantry in this small strip of wood, this small strip of forest would have been ideal. That would have taken down those choppers long before the tracked repair could have, because the javelins have a range of 26-25 versus a range of 2100 on the anti-helicopter warfare from the tracked repair. Over here we got some chasseurs engaging with Strelky and a group of 3 Strela 3s. This is a pretty exposed target, but they might be trying to head to these buildings. And not exactly getting there either. Recce are pushing up. Sniper teams might be trying to get a sniper shot on these BMP-1s, I'm not entirely sure. And he captured a supply truck again. Let's see where he's going with that. Yep, he's going to take that thing into the woods with the SAS, resupplying the SAS with their AT-4s and their Stingers. They got 238 left, and hopefully it's going to be enough. You got full AT-4 complement, 3 Stingers, and then it's empty. So that 4 Stingers. He got a full complement of the SAS from that truck. Excellent job. Excellent job. Now let's push it up a little bit. What he could have done here is push up with a bit more recon to see what exactly is in the town. Get a couple of APCs with diggers ready. Get a couple of guys with Royal Marines if you have them, or paratroopers ready. And if possible, if you have additional ASLAVs, get the paratroopers inside the ASLAVs, because it might not be safe to land infantry and helicopters. But you got a reasonable chance of bridging this gap either with transports or on foot if you can put down a smokescreen for the infantry. So that's how I would proceed to capture this town, and with that the command zone, because probably their command vehicle is somewhere in there. If it's a vehicle, it could be infantry as well. Now Mike over here in the middle with Chandler Joke. It seems that Mike is operating on middle and right flank. So he has to spread out his attention a little bit, but he's getting a lot of points. Now I was going to say what I'm missing here is tanks. So 30 B2 Brennus or just the B2 could have helped with taking down those transports. And suddenly a wild T-80B appears. This would have been an ideal target for the HAD, the Tiger HAD. But the Tiger has had it and is going down, unfortunately. Operating a little too close to the front line here. SAS are trying to get a shot, and they killed one helicopter. Well done with their stingers there. So Butler, excellent play getting these things into position. Someone just unleashed hell on that village. That was artillery, I'm not sure where it came from though. Might have been these LRMs. And with that, we now got the diggers and the paratroopers and a scorpion pushing up. Kill the transport there probably for 40 points. More artillery's coming in from his own MLRS. Now he has to push in with the infantry and be quick about it. What he could also have done here is bring a Challenger 1 Mark 1 or Mark 3 to provide a bit of fire support against these vehicles and against something that's over there. We know that it has a decent rate of fire, and then it's making life hard for this infantry, so it has to be a tank. And zooming in on it, I think it might be a T-55. Come on, what are you? It's a T-80. T-80s have a rate of fire of 9 rounds a minute on their main gun, so you want to get into cover quick. And with that, having either an AT vehicle here or a AT helicopter and a recon would have been easy to take down that tank. They captured the zone. Well done, Butler. Good push there. Now they spotted the T-80B. But the T-80 has a lot of range on these paratroopers. The Law 80 has a range of 525, which I believe in DLC 3 gets upgraded to 700. I'm not entirely 100% on that, but I think that's the new range. He's pushing up with the diggers. And a Seed plane, a Harrier came in and took down an AA unit over there. While another unit might have taken down, yeah, it killed the T-80. So that was a good combined strike with the planes there, well done. Aslavs took down another AA unit, while the SAS seem to be going for an artillery mission again. If they can spot the artillery here, they can either take it down with their own AT-4s, or they might be able to just call in artillery on that position, just as spotters. SAS are trying to get away from that chopper. Hopefully they are not going to get spotted by that. He's using the cover of these trees perfectly. Another Mi-4 flies overhead. Gets spotted because the SAS starts shooting at it. That was not really the right play, but I think that did that automatically. I'm not sure if he's micromanaging these guys. If he was, he could have turned down the main weapon. But they might have been spotted anyway by those things flying overhead. If he can capture the FOB, that would help. That would just resupply and just completely refill his SCS with reinforcements. Took down a 120 point Melka. Twice. And now he captured the FOB. Wow. Well done there on the SCS. They're immediately engaging the airplane with a Stinger, but an Su-27S is not very easily taken down by Stingers because it has a high ECM value. So he's going to have to repeat that performance in order to get the kill on that. He might just take it down with the FSA. No, plane managed to make it out, even though Rafale was right on his stern. 40 point helicopter got taken down, courtesy of the SCS. And keep in mind guys, this is just the danger that one squad of elite SCS poses here. If there would have been more guys, if there would have been 2 or 3 squads of SCS here, including one recon or possibly SBS, he could have just wiped out this zone. So if you have units in your area, dedicate pretty much 100% of your attention to finding the SAS or finding the units in there. Now he could have coordinated this a bit better. I'm not sure who it is that's firing. It might be his own... No, it's not his own. It's Shen LeJoke. Shen is engaging the area in front here. It seems that the enemy has finally had enough of the SCS presence and engaged with 4 T-64BMs and 4 PT-90s. And unfortunately that's the end of the SAS, but they did a hell of a job there. We got a Storm operating here, and he's jumping from cover to cover with his Scorpion. Trying to get close enough to recon that thing. In the meanwhile, these are the units that we saw earlier appear at that fob. And they immediately wipe out 10. Make that 12 paratroopers. And these RBS 70s are gonna have to run for their lives if they want to stay alive. But I think that KSK-24 might be panicking a little bit, considering the amount of units that he's bringing in. And bringing in this many units is not necessarily a bad thing. But they're only tanks. They're only one type of vehicle. Why doesn't he bring in some other units, like for example a BMPT or a napalm tank? That would have been trouble. This is mostly annoying, but a very, very easy target for airplanes, ATGM vehicles, ATGM helicopters. Pretty much every conceivable unit that is good at anti-tank warfare can be brought in here, because they got nothing else to counter that. Problem is that the diggers are out of ammo, and that means that they can no longer engage any of these PT-90s or the T-64s or this BRM. Because even this thing is armored. And he could have pushed in with his Maxes. It might have fired some rounds. There goes another T-64. I think that these Super Etendars came in one sortie. They both fired at the same target. Now I appreciate the help from General Joke trying to help out Butler here, but they fired at the same T-64 BM. So what you need to do is bring in one, count to 3, and then bring in the second one. Because that way, the first one will take out one tank and the second one will take out another tank and not waste any ATGMs on unnecessary targets which are already dead. He's also trying to help with the Tiger HAP. Unfortunately, the HAP doesn't have any anti-tank weapons. The only thing that he can do there is engage with his rocket pods. That's not going to stun anything. Or it did stun something, but it's not going to kill any tank. Unless you fire about 400 rockets at it. The AA that he has over here is well placed, but I'm afraid that they're going to get killed by these transports, or by the PT-90 and the T-64. He's going to have to start running. Go, go, go. Come on. There you go. Now keep building, hopping. Get them away. Try to take down this helicopter. I'm not sure what it is. MI-24 VP. It doesn't stand for Vice President, but it's a very, very dangerous helicopter, and you don't want these things operating too long. Unfortunately, these guys are worried, and there's only one missile left. I don't think that that is going to kill that thing. No. And again, AA is a problem. So Butler, if you're watching this, and I think that you will be, bring in some more AA and spread out your AA groups. Because having AA in this building, again, could have saved you from these helicopters. Super Etendars, again, trying to support his units here, but again, being brought in one sortie. So again, they tried to engage the same target. The first one took the kill, the second one missed. So please don't play it like that. Interesting to see that these recce's are out of sniper rifle ammo. They might have taken some shots at these motostrelkis as they were coming by. Or something else, I wasn't paying attention there. And what is this? Are these guys still manned or... No, I think they're empty. It's just his storage depot for used helicopters. Unfortunately, his Centurion marksman died here earlier because it could have taken down that Akula. Although an Akula has a range of 2975 versus ground, and the Centurion has a range upwards of 2800. So this thing could engage the marksman and kill it before the Akula could be taken down by the marksman. But someone else solves that problem with a couple of Mistrals, and that's Mike. NATO leading by 2500 points. And they are doing a sort of force recon with the logistics choppers. No AA response to that. There you go, some of it arrived now. This is a pretty good indication that there's not a lot of AA left on the enemy team. And he dropped off some more SAS. Time to annoy the hell out of the enemy again. I can hear the artillery, I just haven't found it yet. Yeah, here it is. Now the vehicle was taken down, and there is the prize. That is what you want to get. Unfortunately, these guys have spent pretty much all of their ammo. And they're being pinned down by these empty LBVs. Taking down another transport. And 31 Motostrelki pop out, so time to get the hell out of here before you get killed. He's pushing up with the SAS. The other group. SU-27S comes in. Takes down a Harrier GR7 unfortunately, but the Sea Harrier gets this sort of revenge and kills an AA unit. Now this is not the kind of engagement that you want to get with the SAS. They're not going to win against 25 Motostrelki with just 10 of them. Or well, maybe, considering that these guys are all panicked and shaken, they might. But not when this appears. I think though that by now he has so many points that he could call in the rest of his SAS army and try to deploy a lot more of those guys. And of course he can bring in paratroopers. He could land those right here and push those in across to give the SAS a bit of backup versus other infantry. So if you want to do commando operations like that, don't forget your paratroopers. And these guys are pretty much ready to go. They got a helicopter which is fueled up. They're just standing here. Same for these SAS. These guys could have really helped out the guys over here. So always keep checking your units, keep checking, okay, what do I have in the field, how can I push it up? For example, these cargoes could have been brought forward to reinforce the diggers, get the diggers up front to this forest or this urban block, resupply and reinforce the RBS 70s, push up with those diggers, get those Milans across, get the Maxes over there, get the green jackets across the forest and spot from over there, get the rapier a little further, Centurion marksman over there, get the aviary split out. Of course it's easy for me to say it now and to quickly go over it, but I think that by now he was too busy micromanaging these SAS and trying to save their lives, but I don't think that these LBVs are going to die to M16 fire. Anyway, stuff like that could have changed the game even more to their advantage. It could have given them a bit more kills. I'm not sure why he ran away with these SAS while the other SAS were dying. If he would have pushed in with the other group of SAS, killed those 3 transports, even if one guy had made it out and he captured another supply unit or brought his own CH-147 supply, he could have done a resupply on this SAS reinforcement and get them secured, get them back into full strength. So let's see if the SAS can make the final kill here. Alpha has left the game. That is a Red 4 player, the one that has the most points, so he is definitely not a quitter. He definitely made his fair share of kills here. Objective Delta has been resecured. And over here they got a lot of units pushing up from Shanla Joke. SAS are trying to find some more. They found another artillery unit, 75 points, trying to take it down. Scored another kill. Now, can they find the main target here? Can they find that bit of command vehicle here? KSK-24 surrendered, leaving only Odessa Barman, and there is their CV, or at least one of them. Where is the other one? Right over there, right in the open. If he'd have had recon, he would have spotted that, but SAS unfortunately don't have the optics to find it. In the meanwhile, we got a pretty hefty urban warfare going on in this side versus Odessa Barman with Shanla Joke's forces. I'm not sure how many chasseurs the guy has in his deck, but he keeps bringing them in like there's no end to his supply. Again, Chandler Joke fires 2 Super Itendar missiles, the AS-30Ls at 1 Norov. So again he wastes 1 missile. And this is really starting to add up to the amount of kills that he missed. Of course, a Norov isn't that big of a problem, and it doesn't really need an ATGM like that, but again, if you have them sitting in your airfield, you might as well use them. Paratroopers are pushing up, taking out 2 vehicles over there. And I think that he realized now that he had the SAS over here, so they might as well fly in. But the game's going to end in about 8 seconds, so let's push it up. So Butler got a very good rating, a kill-death ratio of about 3. So he killed 3 times more than he lost, and that is probably mostly due to the SAS, which were operating behind the enemy lines, getting quite a large amount of kills, harassing the enemy, killing artillery, capturing supply trucks and rearming themselves. I found that part particularly amusing. So a very good gameplay by Butler here. Butler, well done. Thank you for sending me your replay. And if you're watching this and you want me to have a look at your replay, please send it to me through the link in the description. Also, if you liked watching this gameplay, please hit like. And if you have any tips or suggestions for Butler which I might not have already covered, leave them in the comments below to help him improve his game even further. For now, thanks for watching. Please share this video if you thought it was fun and useful for other players to watch, and I hope to see you next time.